Şimdi sunumlara geçiş yapıyoruz. İlk sunumunu gerçekleştirmek üzere Romi Novriadi'yi davet edeceğiz. Now I kindly invite Mr. Romi Novriadi to the podium to deliver his speech, his presentation on ideal protein concept and functional feed, a case study in Lithopenes vanamei. Mr. Romi Novriadi, please. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the organizer for inviting me to this 7 nutrition seminar and feed technology workshop. Today, because of the invitation, I would like to talk about the ideal protein concept and also development of the functional feed for Pacific white shrimp, vanamei. I hope you know about the shrimp industry here. So just a brief information about myself. Right now, I'm a lecturer at the Jakarta Technical University of Fisheries. This is a vocational school for aquaculture in Indonesia. I'm also as the Secretary General for Indonesian Aquaculture Society, so you are welcome to come and visit Indonesia for aquaculture studies or to see our aquaculture production system and facilities in Indonesia. So you are more than welcome to come. So I would like to start my presentation today just to give you some brief information about what is the trend in the global shrimp production system. We know that right now Ecuador is the first producer, they are first exporter right now. They export 1.4 million tons of shrimp every year, and followed by India and also Vietnam, and Indonesia is number 4. So if we look at the cumulative annual growth rate, shrimp production is really have a very good profitability because the growth rate is around 5.8%. And right now in 2025, we expect the growth of shrimp more or less around 2%. So before we can produce around 5.6 million tons globally, in 2025 we expect we can produce 6.1 million tons of shrimp to support the demand of shrimp worldwide. And if you look at the market statistic for the shrimp production, there is also increasing in terms of the economic value. So before industrial shrimp industry can produce and expect to get 97.4 billion US dollar, but right now in 2025, because there is expectation on the growth of 2%, now shrimp industry can expect to get more than 105 billion US dollar from this industry for shrimp. But the thing is, if you look at the challenge, there is several challenges in terms of the shrimp production system. This is one of the graph from the Global Aquaculture Survey. The first challenge is about the market price. This is the biggest challenge. There's a fluctuation on the market price. Sometimes the farm gate price of the shrimp is not always stable. It's fluctuated, depends on the global economic situation and also depends on the quality of the shrimp. And the second challenge is about the aqua feed, and this has become the main topic for our discussion today, how to develop the economical feed based on the ideal protein concept for vanamei. And the third challenge is about the market access, disease, broodstock, and also the quality of the aqua feed. And this is, feed in shrimp. There are 2 types of feed, cost and quality. It includes as the biggest challenge in the shrimp production sector right now. Oh. Could you please go to the next? So why the cost in shrimp is always matter, and this also affect by the feed cost, because we know not only shrimp but I think in all aquaculture species, feed as the largest production cost component in shrimp culture. This is also affected by the rise of fish meal price. We can see in aquaculture when we start the aquaculture production, fish meal, there is 0 fish meal in 1960, but right now aquaculture utilize more than 70% fish meal. And if you look at the price of fish meal here, this is the one that affect the price of shrimp feed to be increased and keep increasing, and sometimes this is also affect the productivity and profitability of the farmer. And what is the alternative? If we want to replace the fish meal, there are several alternative protein sources that we can use as the alternative. We can use the soy protein, we can use the corn protein, we can use the cottonseed meal, canola meal. If you look at the formulation in general in aquaculture in the past, a lot of animal protein we use in the diet formulation, around 69%, only 19% plant protein source. But because of the massive research right now, we can reduce significantly the use of the animal protein up to 31% and increase the use of the plant protein source. But in the future, we would like, in order to make aquaculture become more sustainable, we would like to increase more the plant protein source, especially in the diet of the shrimp, up to 69% and reduce animal protein on only up to 10%. But if you want to reduce more fish meal, then you have to think about to add the additive and supplements to fill the gap. Because when you replacing fish meal with plant protein source, you probably missing some of the important nutrient to enhance the growth of the Vanami. So this is the strategy. If you want to replace fish meal in your diet formulation, I think we need to focus on what is the precision nutrition and what is the balance strategy. In order to replace the fish meal, you know that fish meal, they have a high protein content, 64.3, high lipid, S content, high lysine, and high methionine. You need to be smart in order to replace the fish meal. So blending strategy is really important. You can replace the fish meal, animal protein with plant protein source, but you need to still maintain the nutrition, the precision nutrition in the diet. So one of the strategy, for instance, like you can combine soy protein with the corn protein concentrate. In soy protein, they have a moderate protein level. The soy protein concentrate, they have a high protein level. So it can still complementary to each other when you try to replace the fish meal. So this is what we call as the blending strategy and also balance the nutrition. So the keywords in order to replace the fish meal in the future, we need to also pay attention with the species nutrient requirement. We need to be more specific. What is the nutrient specific requirement of the species? And also we need to think about the life stage, because the hatchery, nursery, and grow out, they have a different nutrient requirement in order to support the growth. And market requirement also have an effect to the precision aqua feed, and also feed manufacturer opinion also have a effect on the option to choose what is the nutrient level for the diet formulation. Next, please. And this is what we call as the balancing cost, nutrition, sustainability. There are several ways to ensure the feed efficiency and also cut the cost while we stay the compliance. So we need to ensure the consistent quality of the feed ingredients when we try to replace the fish meal, and also utilizing the alternative protein ingredients to be lowering the feed cost without sacrificing nutrition. Feed additive is also important, and also employing the feed formulation program. So right now, I think in the global aquaculture production, most of the formulator or the nutritionists in the feed mill, they are using the least cost formulation. So they tend to reduce the feed cost, but still maintain the quality of the feed by using this least cost formulation software. And at the end, we can improve the feed processing to ensure the feed physical quality, stability, and also efficiency still in the optimal condition. So this is the terms of the balancing cost, nutrition, sustainability. And this is what we call as the ideal protein concept in Vanami. So the thing is, we're not thinking about the crude protein again in shrimp production, because crude protein is not make sense, because this is also considered the non-protein nitrogen in diet formulation. But in Asia right now, also in Ecuador, I think, we start to thinking about the ideal protein concept. So we formulate the diet to meet the specific nutrient requirement, especially for the essential amino acid and also non-essential amino acid. So I summarize the table on the need of the shrimp. So for instance, if we want to produce the diet, we have to think about, especially for the 4 limiting amino acid. There is a lysine, methionine, and also threonine and arginine. So when you produce feed, so you need to think about what is the lysine level. You don't, because high protein, if low lysine, it doesn't also make a significant effect to the growth of the Vanami. So this is come with the barrel effect. This is the barrel effect, means that if you produce the feed with the high protein level, but one of the limiting amino acids, for instance like lysine or methionine or threonine, in the very low condition, the aquatic organism cannot utilize the protein or the nutrient in the diet. So this is what we call as the barrel effect situation. So the thing is, for the ideal protein concept, you need to make it balanced like this. All the diet should be in balance. So lysine, methionine should be in balance, and there is no lower, especially for the specific or limiting amino acids. So this is what we call as the amino acid balance in the shrimp feed formulation. So what I said earlier, protein I think is not a nutrient per se, but amino acids are nutrients, because the amino acids are the building block for protein. So in the future, in the feed formulation or in the feed meal, we expect they not only put the crude protein level in the label of the feed, but they start to think about to put the true protein. Or in Vietnam, in case of Vietnam, they put the lysine level, methionine level, threonine level in the feed, so the farmer can get the information what is the quality of the feed before they use to culture the aquatic organisms. So this is one of the research from our colleague in South Korea. So can we back one slide, please? So this is when you provide over nutrient, when you provide over protein into your aquatic organisms, especially for shrimp, it's not affect the growth. In fact, when this colleague tried to use 6 protein level from 25 to 50, the shrimp tend to grow lower when you over them with the over nutrient and over protein. So it's not always like you feed your fish or shrimp with the high protein and high nutrient, they can grow well and they can grow better, but in fact they need more energy just to break down the protein into amino acid. So the energy from the diet is not 100% for not optimally for growth, but also compensate to metabolism function and also the physiological function. So this is just to give you the idea, if you overfeeding your aquatic organisms or you provide over nutrient to your fish or shrimp, it doesn't necessary to have a very positive effect to the growth. But in fact, in shrimp, they have a lower growth when you feed them with the over protein level during the production system. This is a 3 graph. This is in hatchery stage. This is a nursery stage, and this is growth stage. All the shrimp have a similar growth trend in growth. They tend to be lower when you feed them with the over protein during the production system. And also the excess of fish meal, and when you feed them with the over nutrient, it also have another impact because there's so many organic waste here. So the farmer tend to need to change the water more frequently. So this is the pumping cost. The pumping cost will also increase, and also how to remove the organic waste is also increase the production cost. So there is so many negative impact if you overfeeding your aquatic organisms. Then in ideal protein concept, we just need to think about to feed the aquatic organisms with the specific nutrient requirement, not overfeeding them with nutrient or overfeeding them with more protein level in the diet. Next, please. So I have one publication about the use of the DDGS. This is one of the cheap ingredient in aquaculture right now to replace the soy protein, one of the expensive ingredient in shrimp feed formulation. So why I'm considering to replace the soy protein? Because so many anti-nutritional factors here. You can see there's a lactin, phytic acid, saponins, phytoestrogen, antivitamins, phytosterols, and allergens. This is all anti-nutritional factors that inhibit the nutrient utilization by the shrimp if you're using high inclusion level of soy protein. So I'm using the corn protein to replace the soy protein here. Next, please. And this is the DDGS report because the price of DDGS is always lower, and also another consideration is about the price. And because I want to produce an economical diet for the Vaname. Next, please. And this is the nutritional profile comparison between the soy protein and also the DDGS. We can see that this is a soy protein. They have a protein level around 46, but DDGS is only 27. But if we formulate the diet like this, we can use a blending strategy, as I mentioned earlier. This is how we formulate the diet with the ideal protein concept for Vaname. We are using no fish meal but we are replacing soy protein here with this corn DDGS. So we can see that the corn DDGS is keep increasing 5%, 10%, 50% to replace the use of the soy protein in the diet formulation. So if we having a very good formulation and if we formulate the diet in the proper way, at the end all the diet have a similar quality or similar nutrient. So for instance, like all the crude protein of the diet, even though we replace the soy protein, the expensive raw material with DDGS, and also with the high protein level compared to DDGS, but if we make a blending strategy in diet formulation, all the diets still have a similar protein level and also similar crude lipid level. And if we look at the trial on the growth performance here, so in general there is no significant difference in terms of growth. But the happy stories is the farmers can save 1% until 3% on the diet formulation cost. So the thing is we can increase the profitability of the farmer by using this ideal protein concept, and we can replace the expensive material with the cheaper materials, but at the same time we can still maintain the growth of the shrimp at the same level. Oh. No, it's still not done. But I think it's there is no. But I still continue with the development of functional feed. I'm so sorry. So, I think yeah. While we're waiting for the screen appears again, so we can. A problem with the screen? Yeah, that's the thing about the ideal protein concept. And the second one, I would like to discuss about the development of functional feed on the Vaname. This is two different things on my presentation today. There is a technical issue, I think. Yeah, if you there's a two part of my presentation today. If you want to have a question about the ideal protein concept, please go ahead. We save time because I think we have a tight schedule in this conference. So if you want to ask about ideal protein concept, go ahead. While we're waiting for the slides coming again. Yeah. I can hear. Yeah. I can hear. You can just leave the microphone. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. The thing is, for Vaname, there is when you culture the Vaname in the hatchery stage, you have to feed them with a high quality and also higher level of the protein. In Asia or in Ecuador, normally they use like a 38 to 40% of the protein. And then when you start to culture them in the grow-out stage, it become 34 to 36 protein is the common one for intensive production system. And that's the thing. But there is always a similar trend when you feed them with the over protein. So there is always do not have any positive impact to the growth, but always have a negative impact to the growth because the shrimp, they need more energy to break down the protein into amino acid, and this is also affect the energy for growth. So most of the energy is for the metabolism and also the physiological function of the Vaname. So that's the thing. I mean, ideal protein concept is really important because shrimp right now is a very vulnerable species. They have, even though they have a high profitability level right now, 30 to 40%, but if you not maintain a very good nutritional in your diet, you lose your profit in the future. So some of the farmers, they're using a high protein level like 40% or 45%. They're only able to get the profit like 15 to 20%. So this is the scenario on the shrimp production. Thank you. So yeah, thank you so much for the question. I will continue my presentation today. This is about this is the happy story for the last slide, and the conclusion is my research in the two-stage application say there is no effect on the growth, even though you replace the expensive ingredient in your diet with the cheaper ingredient, as long as you maintain the blending strategy and also the precision nutrient strategy. And then I confirm the research. At the second research, I'm using a pond to see, because at the first research is using the laboratory scale. Now I go to the pond for the commercial scale. I'm using a similar diet formulation. I'm using a similar design. The only difference is we put the shrimp in the commercial pond, and again, even when we extend the production days, the shrimp is more better with the DDGS, as long as we maintain the quality and also fulfill the specific nutrient requirement of the Vaname in order to support the growth. So the price, also the growth is better with the 5% DDGS and 10% DDGS compared to the control treatment. So also people sometimes worry about the health function of the shrimp when you feed them with a high inclusion level of DDGS, but in fact it's not. We are using the histological analysis, but there is no inflammation, and also the hepatopancreas of the shrimp is also similar with the control treatment. And organoleptic, because some people said if you feed them with a lot of corn, probably affect the taste. But when we asking our student to do the organoleptic, the professional making the organoleptic taste, the taste and also the odor and the flavor, there is no effect on the quality of the Vaname, even when you replace the soy protein with the DDGS. So there is a consistency result on the use of the cheaper ingredient compared to the expensive ingredient, as long as you maintain the nutritional quality of the diet. And the happy stories is the farmer can save more money when you feed them with the low formulation cost with the high formulation cost. So this is the end of the story of ideal protein concept. But the next one is you remember the challenge on shrimp. Disease is really become a challenge on the shrimp production. So if we know in our aquaculture study, disease is about the interaction between the host environment and also the pathogen. And this is a lot of disease in shrimp. There are several emerging diseases like ESPND, and there is a ESP, and there is also another disease, the existing disease, white spot syndrome virus. And look at Thailand. Just because of the white spot syndrome virus, the production from 700,000 metric tons is now down to 200,000 metric tons and cannot be moved again just because of the disease. So shrimp industry is also vulnerable by the disease infection. So why disease is very important matter in shrimp? Because shrimp do not have any adaptive immune function. So shrimp cannot produce the antibody because they only rely on the non-specific immune function. So that's why we need to be more creative and more innovative in order to enhance and also to stimulate the awakening of the non-specific immune function of the shrimp. Because this is the immune function of the shrimp. But in shrimp, hemocyte is the first defense mechanism. This is how the shrimp can protect. This is how the internal organism can protect the shrimp from the pathogen infection. So first, the primary function of the hemocyte is the phagocytosis. They can ingest and destroy the pathogen, and then encapsulation, nodulation, and also melanization and production of the immune molecules. And I have a video like this. If you can see, this is the hemocyte on the shrimp. When they try to ingest the bacteria, so when they recognize the bacteria there, they will try to ingest them and then destroy inside the hemocytes and then remove from the body of the shrimp. So this is how the shrimp defends the body from the pathogen infection. So you can see that the bacteria there ingest by the hemocyte, and this they try to killing the pathogen, and then finally they will remove them from the exoskeleton of the shrimp. So this is about the hemocyte. So from this mechanism, so we're thinking about how to develop a functional feed for the Vaname, because Vaname is very tricky. It's not like fish. Fish can produce the antibodies. That's why you can vaccinate, make a vaccination program to the fish. But for shrimp, we cannot vaccine them because they cannot produce the antibody. So this is the thing that we need to produce prophylactic approach. One of them is by producing the functional feed for Vaname by using the nutrient requirement. So in order to produce the functional feed, there are several functional ingredients that you can use. You can use the phytogenic compounds, you can use the nucleotide, you can use the yeast, you can use the enzyme or amino acid or other vitamin and minerals. And this is one of the case when I'm having my research with the phyto additive. I'm using the extract of the chestnut and also Schidegera. This is as the immunomodulator and also to enhance the immune function of the Vaname. And this is how I formulate the diet. I'm using 0.1 until 0.3% of the phyto additive in my diet formulation. And this is the nutritional profile of the diet and the growth. There is no significant effect to the growth, but look at the survival rate. The survival rate is very high in this functional feed, 93% compared to 85%. So the thing is, the functional feed can also enhance the survival rate of your shrimp, but in terms of growth is something different story that we need to talking about. But the thing is, if you remember the hemocyte as the first defense mechanism, the use of the functional additive, phytogenic additive, can also enhance the number of the hemocyte in the diet, in the shrimp, so they can protect the shrimp in the proper way. So they can also increase the lysosome activity as the antibacteria. So the thing is, by using the phytogenic additive, you can also enhance the immune function of the Vaname. And this is another research by using nucleotides, because nucleotides as the building block of DNA and RNA, they also as the immunomodulator. And this is how I formulate the diet. I'm using 0.05 and 0.1% of nucleotide. And finally, we can also increase the hemocyte and also increase the lysosome activity on the shrimp. And when we challenge them with the Vibrio parahemolyticus, nucleotide can protect the shrimp from the disease infection. And the third one is using the yeast, the beta-glucan, because you know shrimp, they have a specific binding receptor to the yeast. So when I formulate the diet with the yeast, they can also impact the growth of the performance of the Vaname. So I'm just skip this slide. So this is how we formulate the diet with high protein DDGS. We can see the growth is better, and also the hemocyte can also increase by using the yeast in the diet formulation. And this is when we do the analysis with the shrimp fat in Vietnam. We can also see the survival rate of the shrimp is also increased by using yeast as the functional ingredients in the diet formulation. Yeah, this is another. Next, please. So this is another research by using yeast, but at the same time we can also see the better growth of the Vaname by using yeast. And also we can also increase the hemocyte before and after infection, and also the relative gene of the immune function, the prophenol oxidase before and after infection. So yeah, but the thing is, if we're thinking about the immune function in Vaname, we have to think about the period, because this is not something that they can produce the antibody. So my research said we can activate the immune function in Vaname, but it's only in the short time period. In my research, it's only 6 hours. So you can activate the immune function in Vaname, but only in the very short period. So in the reality, when you produce the shrimp in the real pond, then you need to think about the proper feed management system. And this is, because it's only 6 hours, then you need to think about how to maintain the immune function always in the peak condition. So you need to also pay attention with your feeding management, not only giving the shrimp only 2 times or 4 times of the feed, but in my research, 6 times is really good in order to apply this functional feed in Vaname. So that's the end of my presentation today. So this is the conclusion is, next please. So this is the take-home message. The functional feed with the addition of the functional additive like a phyto additive, nucleotides or enzyme or yeast actually can enhance and also to activate the non-specific immune function in Vaname, but it's only in the very short time period. In order to maintain this immune function always in the peak condition, you need to pay attention with the proper feed management. So the shrimp can always in the very good condition to maintain the immune function during the production process. So thank you for listening for my presentation, and welcome for your question and answer after the presentation.
If you have any questions, you have 5 more minutes, Mr. Romi. Any questions? Sorularımız varsa öğrenci arkadaşlarımız da sorabilirler merak ettikleri şeyleri. Evet. Okay, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I just wonder, although there's a quite good progress on the functional feeds, but what about the overall effect to the mass production of the either waname or any species of the shrimp? Is there any really good, how to say, success to decrease the mortality, or still in the research level?
All right. Thank you for the question.
It doesn't?
Oh. Thank you for the question, Professor. So, this is really work in the laboratory scale. Yes, I'm agree with you. But in the real world, in the open pond condition, there's so many variables. There is a climate change, there's a high temperature, and there's sometimes a low dissolved oxygen. This also affect the effect of the functional feed. So the thing is, I made a survey last year to our farmers who use the functional feed. How is the effect of functional feed to the survival rate? Not only shrimp, but also fish. It's marine fish like grouper, sea bass, Asian sea bass, not European sea bass, but Asian sea bass, the barramundi. So the thing is, in terms of survival rate by using the functional feed, I forgot to mention to you during my presentation that when you feed the functional feed, you cannot feed the functional feed every day, but you need to make an on-off condition, because if you overstimulate your aquatic organisms, that also affect the immune function. So it's like 2 days you give them with functional feed and 2 days off, and then you feed them with the functional feed, and then you make it off again. So you keep maintaining to activate the immune function. So in fish there is no problem. The survival rate is increased because fish can produce the antibody after they recognize the functional ingredients. But waname is the tricky things, because they cannot produce the antibody, they cannot produce the memory about the functional ingredients. Then you need to keep providing them with these functional ingredients, but not every day. So in shrimp it's like 3 days with a functional feed, and then 1 day off, and then you feed them again with functional feed, and then 1 day off with the conventional feed. That's as long as you pay attention with proper feed management. I think in Asia now functional feed is becoming popular. The use of functional feed, especially in shrimp industry, because so many disease, and the farmers say that the survival rate increased around 5 to 10% by using this functional feed, as long as you maintain the nutritional requirement. It is also useless if you're using the functional ingredients but you not maintain the other nutritional quality of the diet. For instance, like there is 2 things that farmers in Asia apply right now: a low protein concept and also high protein concept. If you use a very low protein, like a 26 or 24 for your shrimp, even though you use the functional ingredients, it cannot also have a good impact to the survival rate. So you maintain the nutritional quality, you maintain the nutritional requirement, and then you put the functional ingredients, and you feed them with the proper feeding management strategy, then you can expect a high survival rate into your production system. I hope this answers your question.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
thank you for your answer and question. Now it's time to have a lunch. Şu anda öğle arasında yemeğimizi yiyeceğiz. 1:30'da tekrar görüşmek üzere diyoruz. Yes. Yes, it's time for lunch break. Can you hear me?